Hello, everybody. As we say goodbye to another year, it's time to look ahead to the 10 things to watch for 2025. There's so many different things out there. I'm going to try to spend about a minute on each of these. These are not going to be in any particular order, so let's dive right in. Number 10 is going to be Joe Biden. And Biden is on his way out of office in just a few weeks. So the things to watch for here are going to be last-minute pardons or executive orders before Biden gets out. Any president is bound to feel that power is slipping away, so they probably want to make their mark while they still can. He might try to put up temporary barriers for Trump, but whatever he does, this is going to shape Biden's legacy. And I've seen a whole range of takes about Biden's presidency. I've heard he's been a great president with just a couple of missteps, and I've heard he's been the worst modern president even under Jimmy Carter. So it kind of depends on how you want to look at it. But the historians are going to start to dive in and evaluate how Biden's done. That's going to take a while, but what is for sure is Biden did serve between two Trump administrations. So you can be the judge of those 4 years in between. Number 2 or number 9, if you're counting down, is going to be Donald Trump. This is going to cover everything from his cabinet appointments to any legislation he gets passed. And of course, it's going to be his day one agenda and his first 100 days. He's likely to make pardons and put out some executive orders. He's going to have a fairly friendly Congress, but a narrow majority in the House. We've got to see how he governs, how he postures himself, what kind of successes he has, what kinds of setbacks, what kind of loyalty is he going to have, how close are people like Elon Musk going to be to the administration, and what's going to happen with all the major issues happening domestically and internationally. We're going to cover a couple of them in a second, but there's all kinds of things going on with spending in Israel and Ukraine. There's everything from trade and energy to abortion and TikTok. We got to see how much he plays to the base, how much he ignites his opposition, and if he's able to somehow put together a popular coalition and agenda for the American people. Number 3 is going to be the economy. This is one of the major reasons that Trump got elected in the first place. And this is the civics data right here. And you can see since Trump got elected, there has been a little bit of a change on the perception of the economy. Looks like it's heading in a more positive direction. Democrats are likely to be less optimistic, while Republicans are going to be more optimistic. But this might be the single most important issue to the Trump administration. How much can be done about the perception of inflation? What's going to happen with tariffs, manufacturing, labor? And with all that, there's also the unemployment rate, interest rates, and any other kind of tax code. That's all going to play a role into how Americans feel about the economy. Let's go on to number 4. That's the other big topic that was key to Trump getting elected. That's immigration. Here's some stats from a few months ago about migrant encounters at the border. But this is also a topic that encompasses a lot of different factors. It is going to be the border and the border wall. It's going to be cartels, drug smuggling, visas, chain migration, family separation, and of course, deportations. Right now, the public does want to go in a harsher direction on this topic. It seems like too many people have been let in too short a time, and there's not a whole lot of accountability. But it's all a delicate balancing act for Trump. There's bound to be an overstep here and there. And if that catches fire in the media, public perception could change in a hurry. It's also going to depend on how much of this is done by executive action and how much the Republican Congress is going to want to go along with it. There's a whole debate about migrants and crime and domestic labor. We're going to see how any or all of that might get sorted out. Let's go to the number 5 thing to watch, and that's going to be the Democrats. And here we've got the 2025 DNC election. That's February 1st. The candidates that are running for this are listed here on this Wikipedia page. That's going to include Marianne Williamson, the progressive. But the big question is, what are Democrats going to do after their loss with Kamala Harris? Does she have a political future, or is she pretty much done? And where does the party go from here? Do they change direction on any policies? Are they going to keep going establishment? Or are they going to actually go more populist? Is there a lot of infighting in different factions? Do the progressives make a comeback? Or do they all easily coalesce into the opposition to Trump once he gets back into office? There might be some infighting now, but they could all easily throw that aside just to become the opposition again. We'll have to see who rises up, who falls by the wayside. But the Democrats and their party leadership here are going to be a big topic. Let's go to number 6. We've got the media. And this article here from AP talks about how Americans are exhausted. Cable news ratings have declined, especially for the Democrats. I understand that they're going to be demoralized after a loss. It does seem like a lot more so now than back in 2016, but things could change in a hurry. But I've always said the media, mostly the corporate media, even if they've declined a little bit, they are still extremely powerful. Now, there's always going to be a few partisan and overtly partisan media organizations, but even the ones that might be closer to the middle or lean slightly left, they can all pretty much craft any narrative they'd like. It all depends on what they want to emphasize and what they want to ignore. And for the most part, the media in the first Trump administration absolutely overly hyped almost everything. Some conservative outlets are going to be a big fan of almost everything. But I remember hearing a huge story about every little thing Trump did or every little thing that somebody said about the administration or that they heard about the administration. Maybe they used to work for them, maybe not. But there was a lot of speculation and sometimes a ton of coverage about the absolute minorest things or rumors. So I think the media should definitely tone it down and focus only on the things that are actually worth mentioning. Even if they're not a fan of Trump behind the scenes, there is a lot of perception of media bias out there. And if everything Trump does or says is so extreme, that's going to wear off quickly. I'm sure there'll be no shortage of controversial things he'll say. But again, I think the American people are pretty much burnt out. Number 6 or number 4 is going to be the Supreme Court. And this is a big deal pretty much every year. But I've got a list of some cases here that are already on the docket for the upcoming term. There's going to be more that are added. Some of them might be highly controversial or significant. And given the ostensible 6-3 conservative majority on the court, these cases could be a big deal and they could ignite voters for upcoming elections in 25 or definitely in the upcoming midterms. But also with the Supreme Court, we've got to talk about retirements. And Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, those are the 2 Republican appointed justices that could step down and Trump might get a couple more appointments. If that happens, that would really cement in that conservative majority. But maybe only one of them steps down or maybe they both ride it out. There's also a lesser possibility that something happens with one of the liberal justices and maybe they end up stepping down as well. I would think Trump would get at least one more appointment, but you never know. Number 8 or number 3 we're going to look at here is going to be redistricting. And it's the middle of the decade. You might be wondering what's going on with redistricting. Well, in Ohio, they're definitely going to get a new map here for the upcoming midterms. And in this article, it says Ohio's Republican-led General Assembly will get the first shot at redrawing the state's new congressional map in 2025. In order to pass, it needs the support of at least 3/5 of members of the House and Senate and at least half the members of each party. That seems like an extremely uphill climb. But if the legislature's map doesn't have bipartisan support by September 30th, then the Ohio Redistricting Commission will take over. The 7-member panel would have until October 31st to adopt a bipartisan plan. If that fails, then the General Assembly must adopt a plan by November 30th. At that point, it could pass with a simple majority and without bipartisan support, but it would need to be replaced after 4 years. That's pretty much what happened with this current map that they're going to redraw. If there are legal challenges, the conservatives on that court now have a 6-1 majority. So that's bound to be another long, drawn-out, contentious process of drawing yet another map mid-decade. If Republicans are looking to take advantage of it, they can at least help themselves get one more seat out of that U.S. House map. So that's going to be something to watch, but also there's going to be 4 other states that potentially could be making changes to their maps. There's going to be Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, and Utah. This page here on Wikipedia outlines the status in each state, and with such a very slim U.S. House majority, even just a single seat could tip the balance. And number 2 is going to be the retirements and the appointments. And so far, we've only got one U.S. rep from Arizona who's actually not going to run again in 2026. Now, that does not include the upcoming special elections, which we're going to get to in a moment. But after every election, there's bound to be retirements. Everybody can't run forever. An average of 39 members retired from Congress each election between 1930 and 2024. So there's going to be U.S. reps. There's also going to be senators and governors. The senators are likely to be the most high profile, but that's going to be a huge deal as the stage starts to get set as we get closer and closer to the midterms in less than a couple of years. So aside from that, we've also got 2 U.S. Senate appointments. One of them is going to be in Ohio. That's going to be to replace J.D. Vance, who's going to be VP. So Governor Mike DeWine is going to get to make that appointment. Then there'll be a later special election in 2026. Here's the Wikipedia page, and here's the list of some potential candidates. There's a lot on here. Maybe John Husted could be the early frontrunner, but you never know what Mike DeWine is going to do. But that's going to be something to watch here, and it's going to happen early in the year. The other Senate appointment is going to be in Florida. That would be to replace Marco Rubio if he's confirmed as Secretary of State. But we've already got Laura Trump, who's decided not to want to be in the running for that seat. But aside from her, Governor DeSantis is also going to get to make that appointment. And again, a special election will be in the midterms. So here's again the list of candidates on Wikipedia. And it's way too early to say who it's going to be. But with both of these appointments, it could have a big impact on the U.S. Senate. I'm sure Trump wants these picks to be pretty loyal to him and his agenda. I'd say he's more likely to get that from DeSantis than Mike DeWine. But there are soon to be 2 new U.S. senators coming in. Finally, the last thing, number 10 or number 1, that's going to be the 2025 elections. That includes the special and the regular. First, we've got the special elections here. We've got 3 of them in the U.S. House. 2 of them are going to be in Florida, and 1 of them is going to be in New York. All 3 of them are moderately to heavily red-leaning. New York's 21st would be the most competitive, but at least Stefanik just won that by more than 20 points. But you never know how energized Democrats are going to be. They could try to put that seat in play. But in addition to the special elections, there's going to be some state Supreme Court elections that could have heavy consequences. The first one here is going to be in Wisconsin. That general election is going to be April 1st. And right now the balance balance of power is a 4-3 liberal majority. So Republicans are eager to flip that ideology back. They've got a chance to do it in just a few months. Also, we've got Pennsylvania, and we've got 3 judges that are part of the liberal ideology, and they stand for retention. In theory, if Republicans swept all 3 of them, they could tip the balance of the court. But they're retention elections, and Republicans are going to control the White House and Congress. So you never know what could happen, but that might be a bit of an uphill climb. Then there's going to be a ton of other mayoral elections happening around the U.S. Maybe the most high profile might be New York City. Eric Adams is running again for another term. He's definitely run into his share of controversy from all different directions. So there's definitely a lot of people lining up for that office. There's a chance former Governor Andrew Cuomo gets into the race. But either way, elections for mayor in New York and plenty of other cities are going to be something to watch. The last election to watch here is going to be for governor. We've got 2 of them. We've got New Jersey. We've got Virginia. I did a video on this a couple of weeks ago. This should give us a good idea of which way the political winds might be shifting under the new Trump administration. It could be tough for Republicans to hang on in Virginia, and Democrats should be favored in the blue state of New Jersey. But given it's an off year for elections, those are going to be 2 good ones to start following as we get more into the spring and summer. So that's it. Those are the 10 things I've got to watch for 2025. There's always so much more out there you could take a look at, and there's always going to be something that comes up that nobody saw coming. So I'm going to end it there. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about any of these 10 things to watch? What other important things are you going to be looking at? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to help support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.